Hi guys, welcome back to Ground Zero. Told you I've guests this week, not just me. Anyway, today we're with Megan and Tash. How about you
Hi.
start by telling us a bit about yourselves?
Do you want to go?
No, you go first.
Okay. I'm Tasha. I am Sales and Ops Director at Team Jobs. Moved to Dorset a year ago now. And my role in recruitment, I've been in for 17 years. That's scary, showing my age. Over to you, Megs.
So I'm Megan. I'm head of people here at Team Jobs. I've been here for coming up 2 years now, and have worked in recruitment and training roles for the last 8 years.
Brilliant. So today we're talking about your first time public speaking.
Indeed.
What was your first ever experience? Because obviously I did mine, probably about a month or two ago now, I think it was.
Okay. When did you do yours?
It's at the first lunch club I did because Mark absolutely stiffed me and on the day went, "Oh, do you want to talk about your podcast with?" I'm like, Sure, yeah.
You've got to love Mark Masters, haven't you?
I don't think I've had one lunch club where I've not been brought up. I the thing is, my viewers are probably getting sick of this because every episode's you're the media, Mark, because he's just chucked me in
there.
everything.
But he's everywhere.
He is, and we love him.
We do.
Do you want to go first with your first?
Yeah, I can start, I suppose. So my first, don't laugh, but first public speaking, I suppose I was probably in nursery, because I was one of the three kings in my nativity, and I had to perform in front of the whole audience. When you're young, I don't think you have any fear, do you?
No.
So that's probably my first ever, and then it's evolved from then, really. What about you?
Yeah, I think I was probably in a few different pantomimes and things like that when I was younger, because I always did acting growing up. I guess my first official structured one, I used to be in the local council from when I was, well, it was called Pool Youth Forum. I don't actually know if that's a thing anymore. Used to be a thing.
Not a clue.
And we used to debate up in Parliament and things like that when it was a thing. And the Civic Centre was used quite a lot back then. I don't think the Civic Centre is really used as much anymore. And there was a chamber, and we set up our own sort of debates for different things. So I was on like debating panels, and that was probably from about the age of 13 until I was about 16. And yeah, there used to be a thing called Rotary International Youth Speaks. Don't know if that's a thing anymore. But you used to enter your debate team and debate across the whole of the country, and you'd have a different theme each time, and it was like a full debating setup. So we entered that twice. We came second 1 year, so that was really cool. That was when I was about 15. So I guess it's always been a thing for me, but definitely less fear. Probably didn't even think about it at that age. Just did it.
It's funny, isn't it, how it evolves, I think. So, like I said, a bit of a joke about the nativity one. But then if I look at the amount of times I've done public speaking, either at an event through work or even in a personal scenario, like my brother's wedding I mentioned to you, didn't I, the other day, at Fulham Palace in front of 200 people. And I really sometimes used to beat myself up for the way I talk. Essex girl, everyone takes the mickey, living in Dorset. So, and then obviously I did the You on the Media panelist. And I suppose for me, that was the first time that I really felt the spotlight was on me, because there was me, 4 other professionals, to an audience that Mark has created, a great community. And I think you sometimes always think you're going to be judged. And
like
actually, yeah, massively, right? So yeah, but then after, the buzz, I think, is just what's amazing, right, Megs?
Yeah, definitely. I think the imposter syndrome does kick in. I don't know if you guys have spoken about that much on the podcast.
I did with Trisha Lewis.
Amazing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I think that definitely does creep in, because you feel like you're the alien in the room. And I think that happens at any level of public speaking, whether that be personal, business related, at any age, maybe unless you are a child and you don't even know that that's a thing, but you feel like you're the one in the room that everyone's staring at.
Yeah.
But like we said earlier, and we can touch on this more in this episode, is actually you are the one that's been chosen because you are a specialist in that field.
Yeah.
So no one knows any different. If you do mess up a word, that's fine.
Yeah.
And it always comes at the worst time as well. I was calm going up. As soon as I'm walking up, I'm like, oh.
Forget everything.
Yeah.
I literally had a mind blank at the You Are the Media one. I was at mid-conversation and I just went, luckily, it came to me quite quickly and I had other panel members.
Yeah.
So they supported me. And I knew, you just lose your train of thought.
I think the hardest question ever is introduce yourself.
Well,
when you're on a panel or you need to start your public speaking journey, whatever it is, if you've gone up to do a talk at a seminar or whatever, and you've got to introduce yourself, I'm like, who am I?
And
What's my name?
And isn't it funny how, like, me and you don't shut up if you can't tell. Ben always takes the mickey.
Sorry, guys, I'll just come over it.
No, but it's true, right? So when you then have to do a panel talk or a public speaking event and you can't, it's like, I've malfunctioned.
Yeah, definitely.
No, but sometimes that's a gift, to be fair, because if you're just at public speaking flight, let's say if you're at Creator Day, you have a 20-minute slot, you've just got to talk and talk. So you'd be perfect for that.
All right, Ben.
I think there are some time frames that are harder than others. I think 3 to 5 minutes is a really difficult time frame because it's not quite long enough to
get in your flow.
Yeah, get in your flow and do a huge amount. 20 minutes is a good amount of time to really deliver something of quite large value. But when someone says, right, you've got 5 minutes or 3 minutes,
you got to like condense everything down.
Or if you go to, like, I don't know if it's really a thing anymore, but do you remember like old fashioned like styles of networking groups when you used to like have to stand up for 60 seconds and say your pitch?
Yeah.
And like, what can I fit into 60 seconds? For us, 60 seconds is not long enough. It's
That's
just
because we
not long
ramble
enough.
on a lot.
Yeah.
Megs.
And you're like, blah, 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 blah. What did I just say?
And like I said, it does take time to get in your flow, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's what you're conscious of. If you've only got a short period of time, we used to do it with a client actually in another company that I worked for, where we did interviews, but the interviewers, they had to sell a piece of stationery and they had to do it in front of the whole room that had also been interviewed. So you're asking someone who's already nervous on an interview to stand up and public speaking and do public speaking, and they've got no experience whatsoever, and you're asking them to sell a highlighter.
Yeah, sell me this pen.
Yeah, old school, right?
The amount of times I've seen that video of the pen selling is...
Yeah.
So what's the difference between your, let's say, most recent public speaking, your first one? What's the biggest difference that you've noticed from it?
I would say I've learnt to authentically be me and not try to be anybody else. And I think I used to get so nervous about being judged that I was putting on a different persona or acting in a certain way, and actually it wasn't me. And then in what I do, everything I do, I believe in being authentic, and I work in sales, so people need to buy from me. And if I'm then putting on a fake persona, how is that going to work? So I suppose, the most recent one, I really felt at home and felt really relaxed and just being me. Even though I'm in a room of people that I don't know, I suppose as I got older, you get a little bit wiser. And I don't mean that in a negative connotation, but you just start to go, you know what? I mean, I'm not going to change now. I am who I am. So that's probably it for me.
Yeah. That's a good question, actually. I think it's weird because I know more now than I knew when I first started, I guess, professionally public speaking. I feel as if probably now I question myself more though. Like if I take it back to that, that debating panel, and at the time the first one we did was to change the legal voting age from basically to 16, and that's what we were going to Parliament to debate. I didn't really have a clue. I didn't know anything really like then, but so confidently I delivered what I needed to say with just absolutely no second guessing in the world. Like, that was it. I'm going in there, I'm doing a job, and that is it. I think in a structured debate, that's where probably I'm in my prime. Put conflict in front of me randomly, then I will just start having a breakdown and cry. But if it's structured, then I know what I'm doing, and that's when I'm most confident. Whereas now I know so much more. That was like 20 years ago. I was doing things like that. I know so much more now, but I probably question myself a lot more now, which is interesting.
Does that go back to, I suppose, and I get what you mean totally, and I'm just thinking, does that go back to when you're younger, you just don't have that fear factor?
Don't fear. Yeah, and I think for me, I'm a weird age now. I'm an adult, but I'm still quite young to be in the role that I am and owning my own business as well. I sometimes get that whole, do people think, well, she doesn't know that much, she's only 28. So I think that's whereas at that age, doing that as a young teen, people must have thought, well, we don't expect her to know anything. She's so young.
Yeah.
So anything that you deliver, everyone's like, wow, that's so cool that you can do that at that age. Whereas now it's that in-between phase of I'm getting closer to people, just not thinking anything because of my age. But I do think that factor does come into a little bit, because sometimes if I'm in a room, if I'm on a panel or if I'm public speaking, I could be the youngest there by quite a way maybe sometimes. So it then does make you second guess yourself in a different way. Because you're in that in-between phase. Whereas maybe now, like you just said, you're at that age where no one's going to question your abilities and your capabilities.
The only person that's questioning is actually me.
Because you've had
crazy.
20 years nearly in the industry that you work in. No one's ever going to judge that because you know so much.
But every day's a school day, and that's what I've always said. You're always learning. So
see, I've had a similar experience to you, because I've now got this podcast. I've got stuff going on. I'm only 20.
Yeah.
So people are like, you're 20?
Yeah.
I get the common thing of every day. Someone's like, I thought you were like 25, 26. I'm like, thanks, but no, I'm 20.
Yeah.
I'm
20.
I'm doing this at 20. Imagine what I'm going to be doing at 25.
No, it's more like knock off 6 years. I'm not that old yet.
That's brilliant. I'm not going to share my age. I'm way too old.
I think it does play a factor. Like, I do definitely think over the last sort of 4 years, it's becoming less of a thing that I have to prove anything because of my age.
I think it's more common that younger people are coming through into public speaking.
Definitely they are. But I think it depends where you like you did your apprenticeship and you started in the working world at a young age. So you've had that, I guess, that time, that period of growth, compared to maybe someone who's still at university now and hasn't been out in the working world yet. And that was very much the same for me. I started working at 16 full time. I didn't go to any further study until I was older. So I've been out and about doing things for a bit longer than maybe someone else my age who could have only graduated 5 years
interesting.
ago. Yeah. So I think taking that back to public speaking, that's probably what's changed for me. I've taken this in a long-winded way. Is that I feel more confident.
Is that because you like talking?
That is, yeah. I know so much more. I feel so much more confident, but I definitely judge myself more than I did then.
So you touched on an interesting point now on confidence. What would you say? Obviously, some people here might not be confident but want to go into public speaking. What do you say a big impact of boosting your confidence is, other than experience?
I say put your head above the parapet and just do it. And I genuinely mean that. The more you do it, the more you put yourself out your comfort zone, the more your confidence will build. I used to really struggle. I used to get like rash on my neck when anything like that. I used to like twirl my hair. I still know I look around a lot and I'm quite a fidgety person when I'm nervous. But again, just keep doing it and you will eventually overcome your fears. It's almost like face your fears. That's how I think anyway.
Yeah. For me, my one thing that keeps coming up recently is choose yourself first. So I think a lot of the time we look up to people that do public speaking opportunities, whether that's on a panel or whether that's on stage at you at the media or whatever that is. We're looking up to that person and we're feeling inspired by that person. That person, might have been asked to do that, but they also have chosen to do that. They're not forced to do it. So that we all have confidence, things to overcome in some way, but they've taken that choice to do it and to just jump out and just do it. And whether that's putting your hand up and saying, I really don't know if I want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway, you're building that confidence. You're putting yourself out there. That's basically what you've just said in a different way. You're you're jumping into it when you're not quite 100% sure. And
it's like my 3 Bs, and I mean, and this came from me doing the You Are the Media, and I was like, okay, how do I get through this? And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to use my 3 Bs: be brave, be you, be bold. And that's it. And if you just keep, and I do that round and round in my head whenever I'm nervous.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Just, if there is, don't wait for someone to say to you, can you do this for me? Can you be a part of this panel today? Can you go and do that public speaking opportunity? Choose yourself and put yourself forward for it. And the more you do it, doesn't necessarily become easier, because you're still going to get a bit nervous, but it will become more comfortable the more you do it.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter the size of the audience. No. Just like put yourself out there. Like, I mean, I got a bug for it, so much so, as you know, that I've now put my head above the parapet to do the B2B expos. Probably not till next year, but I've now spoken with them, and I want to start doing some things like that. So, you know, I've entered some of those, and then obviously you get selected, and I'm just going, you know what, if I don't get selected, I don't get selected. If I get selected, oh my God. Yeah. The 3 Bs is all I've got to remember.
And like what you said, Tash, the size of the audience doesn't matter. I don't know if you, there was a Bournemouth University panel that we did with Ben Eggington. Yeah. So he was supporting Mark to do something at the university, and I was on the panel for that, and there was 4 of us on the panel, and there wasn't very many people that turned up to that first one, because it was a completely new thing, and we were working out the best way to do it. And for me, I actually loved that just as much as any other opportunity, and took so much more away from it, because the other thing is, even if it's an audience of 500 or 5, if one person in that room feels inspired by something you've said, take some knowledge away, you've done what you came there to do. It doesn't matter if 500 people take something. Just if that one person goes away and thinks, I really like what Natasha said today. Just called you Natasha, that felt a bit weird.
My government name.
Yeah. Then I feel so inspired by that. I really, really like what she said, or I've learned something new today. That's fine. You've influenced someone.
So obviously opportunities won't come up every week where you can just go out and step out. So outside of going to events and doing it, what's another way to boost confidence, would you say?
I would say networking. Just, you know, again, because that gets you used to talking to strangers or in front of strangers. So one of the things I'm always keen on is attending networking events. I'm attending one tomorrow where I'm going to meet a load of strangers, and I've just got to keep, so it gets me in that routine and that habit of just being able to talk to anyone and everyone. And that is really it. We're all humans, right? So why would you have a problem speaking one-on-one or in front of 12 people? And I think again, it's that consistency. Like with most things, you know, the first time you ride a bike, you fall off, and you build on it, and you build on it, and you build on it. And I think as long as you put yourself in those environments to do so, you can build your confidence through that networking way. And then the more you do that, then the more opportunities will probably open up for you to be able to do it.
I also think another way you can do that is through building your personal brand online.
Yeah.
So picking the topics that you want to be known for, like what, if someone was to think about you, what would they think if they had a panel or a public speaking opportunity come up? Would you be the person that they would think of because of that particular topic? You can do that in the background by building up your own brand and the things that you want to be known for. And you do that over time. You know, that could be related to the industry that you work in, the business that you work for, or the passions that you have outside of work, and building those up through platforms like LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, etc. That gets you out there, and essentially it's public speaking in a way, because what you're putting out there is going out on social media for other people to see, and you're building up that brand, that platform there. You know, you could do some little videos.
You've been doing some lately for your business, haven't you? And I must admit, interestingly, in COVID, when I was a work from home sales manager, that was the only way you could get through to people. So you videoed and you posted it on LinkedIn and other socials. And I've seen you doing them recently, and I was like, oh wow, I've stopped doing that.
Yeah.
I need to start doing it again.
And that is pretty much the same as public speaking. you're speaking to yourself, of course, through the camera, but
you're actually sending a message out. Yeah.
And more people could see that than they would in a room full of people anyway. You know, it's the same thing. It's about that influence and that sharing of knowledge. And it doesn't matter how you do that. If you just start doing it, you're building up that confidence, and then, you know, the rest of it will come. If you're sending, you know, posting videos or sharing insightful content out on your social platforms, people are going to see that. They're going to think of you when they think of that. And then when those, you know, official public speaking opportunities come up, you can raise your hand and say, I've been doing this, can I be a part of it? Or someone else might notice you and choose you anyway.
Now, going back to LinkedIn, so we can enter a little rabbit hole now. Could you say public speaking could also be in text form?
Yeah. It's your voice.
Yeah. It's your voice.
Yeah. Unequivocally, it's your voice. You know, I think everyone can, obviously, with things like AI, we could go down a rabbit hole here. Yeah. But obviously, everyone's got ChatGPT. And you can tell normally when someone's just used ChatGPT and posted it out there. Yeah. It's a great tool, but it still needs to be your voice. So anything I think you post on socials needs to be, again, authentic.
But there's a difference between using it and abusing it.
Yeah.
Like,
1,000,000%.
Like for my newsletter, yes, I use it for like a summarization or a conclusion.
Yeah.
But the main body of it is just me writing out.
Yeah.
Exactly.
1,000,000%. Yeah. And I think, you know, whatever messaging you're delivering, whether that's in person or virtually, taking it back to what Tash said about authenticity, that needs to come through, and that needs to link to your values as a person, your brand that you're building, your specialisms that you want to be known for. That has to link. And whether that's text or whether that's on stage in front of 500 people, that should, of course, you're going to change the style, but that should still be you throughout all
your
of
voice.
those mediums, and your voice and what you want to be known for. And I think that's where part of this comes back to. And again, that's another rabbit hole, is who are you and what do you want to be known for?
So here's one for people that want to get into it. How do you find these opportunities? Do you just whack it to a massive CEO and hope for the best, or is there ways to wiggle in?
There's a couple of options there, isn't there? I mean, I whack myself out there everywhere. So,
you do. You're very good at that.
If I want, there's a couple of things that I'm doing outside of work at the moment, and if I want to be a part of something, I will literally just message the person and say, can I please be a part of this? Like, I know that's not necessarily something that everyone might feel comfortable doing, but I think, again, it's that choose yourself thing. If there's something that you want to do, put yourself out there.
But it also is, isn't it? You don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah.
So what's the worst they can say?
Because the one thing I learned is whenever I send out messages like big opportunities or whatever, I always find the panic in the build up, and as soon as I click send, I'm fine again.
Yeah.
It's
you
weird.
won't believe
it's the same.
People want to help each other. I think, you know, AI has generated obviously such an amazing opportunity for us, but more than ever now, and actually Stephen Bartlett posted something about this on LinkedIn the other day, he's investing a lot in community, in real life communities, because more than ever we need that human to human contact. And we want to help each other. So if someone messaged me and said, could you please help me with this, or, you know, you're doing this, can I be a part of it? Of course, if I can help someone, and you'd be the same, like if you can help someone boost their brand and boost their business, then of course you want to help them.
I mean, if you link it even back to like what we do at Team Jobs, you know, we do interview prep with our candidates because we want them to get the job. We want to help people find their next opportunity, and therefore they need to learn and build and practice that skill set, and that's what we're here to do, is to support them through that.
Yeah, and you're not going to turn an opportunity to support somebody away, whether that's your business that you're operating from or you as a person. So I think don't wait for, it sounds really cliche now, but don't wait for that opportunity. Create that opportunity for yourself. If you see an event that's going on, find the host. We've got social media platforms.
Yeah.
We can do the digging. We can find
the person.
Find the person that's hosting that event and message them and say, is there any opportunity here? Even if it is just a 1 minute slot or whatever, I just really want to get myself out there. Or like Tash said, networking, you're getting yourself out there again, speaking to all sorts of people. Any opportunity you've got, if that's what you want to do, grasp it and go for it.
So normally I do what is your 3 lessons, but I know what you guys like. So what are your top lessons that you would tell someone that wants to get into public speaking?
Oh, that's a tough one, isn't it? Because I think everyone's slightly different. My lessons, what I've learned is, again, don't think that everybody is going to judge you. Be authentic and be yourself. And when you're not, you actually lose your credibility. And it might be because you're trying to be someone else because you want to impress. But when you then do that, you lose credibility because people are looking at you thinking, that's not that person. They'll see you on another social video or another event and you start to become yourself and they're like, it doesn't match up, nothing adds up. Stick to your values and, again, create your own opportunities and grab hold of it.
Yeah, 100%. I think one for me would be, if you're approaching someone because there's an opportunity that you want to be a part of, don't assume that that person is just going to shut you down or ignore you. Don't assume that just because maybe they are quite a high profile individual because they run a business or they're, an influencer or whatever it may be, don't assume that they don't want to hear from you. Yeah. Don't assume that anyone in the audience doesn't want to hear from you if you get to that point. What you bring is different to anybody else because there is no chance that any of us are going to be the same. So see that as your gift, and if you've got something to share it. I think, having that bit of a personal touch to it helps as well. Having a story, if you, there's not very many people that do feel comfortable sharing their stories. I think there's a lot more people doing it now, but by sharing and by standing there and telling a story, you make somebody else's day easier or somebody else feel better. So don't feel afraid to do that if you feel that you've got the power to do that, and we all do if we want to. At the end of the day. Yeah.
So, is there anything you want to add, guys, or any books you've read at all? If not, I've run out of questions.
Oh, we talked Ben into silence.
Most of the guests do. I just go with it. I'm like, I've run out of questions. Do you want to add anything? Go for it. 5 minutes talking, add it on.
No, I mean, again, just if it's something you want to do, lose the fear factor, dive in, learn from your mistakes. Don't beat yourself up if you don't get it right first time. Be consistent in trying to get what you want. Don't just give up at the first hurdle because you will fall over sometimes. And I think, it is just going out there and putting your head above that parapet. Be brave.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Go.
We like just do it, don't we?
I'm not going to say the whole phrase because that is...
Yeah. We're not allowed to say that on air.
But yeah, just put yourself out there. Nothing, no one's going to,
we're all human.
Yeah. And have you ever actually sat there of an evening or weeks later and reflected on watching someone on the TV or on stage in a theatre performance or in a public speaking and judged someone? I mean, I've never sat there and thought, well, that person said this.
They should never do that again.
Well, that was wrong. I've never done that about somebody else. So the chances are someone's probably not going to do that about me. Yeah.
And you'll be surprised how many supporters you've actually got in your own network. When they, you guys were great with me when I did it at for Team Jobs. And when I came back and I was absolutely buzzing, I was like, I'm going to do this. Everyone was like, yeah, go on.
We all hype each other up at the end of the day. Yeah. We're not nasty people. We all want to help each other grow and elevate each other. So go for it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's our message quite clear, guys. Anyway, it's been lovely talking to you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us. Thanks, Ben.
I'm sure in the description I'll put your socials and anything where they can contact you.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got my socials, which should be in there, and my new website, benfranklin.co.uk or .com. I've monopolised. And yeah, it's a pleasure talking to you guys.
Thanks
See
very
you guys
much,
later.
Ben. See you later.
Bye.